All right, let's quickly review what we're going to talk about for our test today. So the first concept that's going to be on there is perimeter. Remember, perimeter is the total distance around a figure. So if I wanted to know how far around this shape is, I would be finding the perimeter. So let's look at an example. Here's what it says. Lindsay wants to put a fence around her garden. The garden is 4 feet wide and 10 feet long. What is the perimeter of the garden? So the first thing I have to figure out is what shape I'm trying to figure out. Since it only gives me the length and the width, I know that it's either a square or a rectangle. Since these are different numbers, that tells me that it's a rectangle. So I'm going to draw my garden. So here's my beautiful garden. And I'm going to actually label it. So I'm going to say that this is 10 feet, this is 10 feet, this is 4 feet, and this is 4 feet. After I've done that, I'm actually going to create my strip diagram. I am looking for the perimeter in feet, and the information I know is that this one's 10 feet, this one's 10 feet, this one's 4 feet, and this one's 4 feet. From here, when I'm trying to find perimeter, I'm actually going to add all of the sides together. So I'm going to add 10 feet plus 10 feet plus 4 feet plus 4 feet. Well, that's a lot of things to do in one time. So I'm going to break it down. 10 feet plus 10 feet is 20 feet. 20 feet plus 4 feet is 24 feet. And 24 feet plus 4 more feet is 28 feet. So that tells me that the perimeter of this garden is 28 feet. So if you're given all of the dimensions, you just add them all up, and that's how you find perimeter. Another way that we could do this is by looking at a problem like this. So this one says a triangle has a perimeter of 27 inches. One side of the triangle is 9 inches. Another side of this is 11 inches long. How long is the other side? Now in this case, I'm told the perimeter is 27 inches. So again, I'm going to draw my shape first. So my shape is a triangle. So here's my triangle, and I'm going to label what I know. I know the perimeter is 27 inches. I know that one side's 9 inches, because it tells me right here. I know another side is 11 inches, and I'm trying to figure out how long the other side actually is. Now I'm going to do my strip diagram. So with my strip diagram, I am going to fill it out like this. I know my perimeter is 27 inches. I know one side's 11 inches, one side's 9 inches, and I'm trying to find that other side. So there's a couple of ways you could tackle this problem. Here is how I chose to do it. I am going to add what I know first. So I'm going to add 11 plus 9, and I know 11 plus 9 is 20. Now I know that these two pieces equal 20. I'm just going to subtract 27 minus 20 to give me my other side. So when I do 27 minus 20, I get 7. So sometimes with perimeter, you're trying to find the distance all the way around and you're given all the information. Other times with perimeter, you're given the perimeter and you're missing a piece of information. So make sure you're being careful with how you solve the problem. So the missing side for this one was 7 inches long. The next one we're going to talk about is area. Area is a measurement of surface or space inside of lines. So when we're talking about area, we're wanting to know how much it covers. So the other one we have is area model. So this should look really familiar to you whenever we've done multiplication. So an area model is a way to represent multiplication or division by representing the total as the area of a rectangle. So we know how many rows you have and how many are in each row. And when we talk about area, that's all we're trying to figure out is how many rows there are and how many are in each row and then what's our total. So let's look at this example. This one says the classroom floor has 4 rows of squares. There are 8 squares in each of the rows. How many squares are there altogether? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a picture to help me with this. So here is my picture. I have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each of my rows has 8 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now from here, I could just count every single one of my squares and I could get my area or I could get the total number of squares. Sometimes they don't have it all filled in, and we're going to look at that in a minute. So if I don't want to count all the squares, I could actually do the math and I could skip count either by 4s or 8s. So I could say 8, 16, 24, 32, or I could count by 4s. 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 30. Excuse me. 28, 32. So I'm still going to draw my strip diagram to help me figure out how to solve it. I'm looking for my total number of squares, and I know that I have 4 rows and 8 in each one. So here's my 4 rows, and there's 8 in each one of them. Now when I do that, if I count them all or I skip count, whatever I choose to do, I still get back to 32 square units. Another kind of problem could look like this. So when you have a picture that looks like this, the question might read, what is the area of the rectangle below? You'll notice that this picture is different from the example before because all of the squares are not filled in. Now I didn't make mine actually perfect. This should be a little bit shorter, so I made a little bit of a mistake. So when you have your picture like this, you have a couple of options. You can see that this one row right here actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares or rectangles in the row, but we're not able to see all of the rows completely filled in. So you could actually draw all the rows in. So if I did that, I could actually add all of my rows in. And we're going to act like my lines line up a little bit better. And from here, I actually could just count all of my squares and I could get my area. Now, if you don't want to do that, you could look at how many rows there are. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows. And every single row has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 squares or rectangles. So I am able to make a strip diagram from this, and it shows us the area of the rectangle. That's what I'm looking for. I have my 5 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and each side, and inside of each one there are 6 square units. Now from here I could either count every single one of my squares. That's one strategy. I could count by 5s, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Or I could count by 6s, 6, 12, 18, 24, 30. But regardless of my strategy, I always end up with an area of 30 square units. So that's another way we could find area. Now, back to talking about clocks. So we talked about clocks a few days ago. Remember, there are 2 different types of clocks. The first type of clock is an analog clock. And it is a circular clock that looks like this. Remember that the hour hand is the shorter hand. The minute hand is the longer hand. Each one of these big numbers, if you're talking about minutes, you would count by 5s. And each one of these little bitty tick marks in between are when you count by 1s. The other kind of clock we have is a digital clock. Remember, a digital clock is an electronic tool that shows the time in numbers and symbols. Remember, the hours are on the left-hand side. We have our colon, which separates our hours and our minutes, and then our minutes are here on the right-hand side. So let's look at this question. Ryan started playing Xbox at 9:15. He played for 30 minutes. What time did he stop playing Xbox? Well, my clock shows me 9:15. My hour hand is pointing between 9 and 10. Remember, the hour hand moves really slowly, but it's still moving. Okay, so it's between 9 and 10, so it tells me it's at 9. Now the minute hand is pointing at the 3. So if I was to start back here at the 12 and I would count, I could see 5, 10, 15. So I know it's 9:15. Now I have to move for 30 minutes. So if I want to count by 5s, I could do that. Or I could count by 1s. I could count every single little tick mark in between, and I could do that until I got to 30 minutes. I'm going to count by 5s. If you want to count by 1s, that's completely fine. So if I do that, I'm going to say this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. So now I know what time my clock should end on. It's going to end over here. So my hour hand's actually going to keep moving up, and my minute hand is now going to be pointing to the 9. So if I do that, now I need to figure out what time it was. So I have 2 options. I can either say I'm going to go back to the 12 and I'm going to count till I get to this point right here, or I could start at 9:15 and I could actually count time that way. I'm actually going to go back to the 12 because that's what makes sense to me. So if I do that, I'm going to count by 5s again until I get back over here to this 9. So I'm going to say 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. So that tells me that he stopped playing Xbox at 9:45. The next one we talked about was weight. Remember, weight is how heavy something is. With weight, there's a couple of things that you could do. One option is to have a scale. Remember, if you have a scale, you're looking to see where the arrow is pointing to and what unit was being used. So here's my question. Raj weighed the watermelon at H-E-B. What is the weight of the watermelon? So if I look at my scale, I see that it's counting by ones, and my arrow stops at the 10. So I'm going to say that this watermelon weighs 10, and then I'm going to put the unit of pounds. So the watermelon weighs 10 pounds. Remember, if you're given scenarios, weight is always seeing how heavy an object is. The last one we have is liquid capacity. Now remember, capacity is how much can be held in a container. So I just put our anchor chart. So remember, there's two types. There's customary and there are metric. If it's customary, it's going to be fluid ounces, cups, pints, quarts, or gallons. So think about what we did yesterday to help you. If it is metric units, remember it can be milliliters or liters. That's all I have. Make sure you do an amazing job on your test. I can't wait to see how well you did. Bye.